the twin suns of Kepler 442b, cast their amber glow across the settlement as Orla adjusted her daughter Myra in her arms. The child's withered legs dangled uselessly, a genetic defect from the radiation storms that had swept through the colony's early years. Every morning Orla made this journey to kilometers through the red dust to the education center, carrying her 10-year-old daughter who weighed nearly half her own body mass. "Mama, you're breathing hard again," Mira whispered, her violet eyes filled with concern that no child should carry. "I'm fine, little star," Orla replied, though her augmented spine screamed in protest. The biomechanical implant she'd purchased on credit was failing, just like everything else in the outer colonies. "We're almost there." The other colonists passed them with averted eyes. Some pitied them. Others saw them as a burden on an already struggling settlement. Resources were scarce on this terraformed world, and compassion was a luxury few could afford. Orla had learned to ignore the whispers, the suggestions that Myra would be better off in the euthanasia centers that existed on the edge of every colony, that she would die before she let them take her daughter. The education center loomed ahead, a prefabricated structure that had seen better decades. Orla set Myra down gently on the entrance bench, her arms trembling from exertion. She kissed her daughter's forehead, tasting the salt of her own sweat. "I'll be back at sundown," Orla promised. "I know you will," Mira said with a smile that could melt the permafrost. "You always are." Orla worked the mines, extracting the precious iridium that powered the jump gates connecting the colony to the rest of human civilization. It was brutal work, and her failing implant made every shift agony. But it paid enough to keep Myra in school, to keep hope alive that her daughter might have a future beyond these red wastes. 3 months passed this way: carry, work, retrieve, carry, an endless cycle that was slowly killing Orla, though she'd never admit it. Then Jackson arrived. He was human, actual, earthborn. Human, which was unusual enough in the outer colonies. Most who came this far were refugees, criminals, or those running from something. Jackson seemed to be none of these. He was a mobility engineer, he said, traveling the colonies on behalf of some foundation Orla had never heard of. She first encountered him outside the education center, watching her lift Mira into her arms for the journey home. "That looks difficult," he said, his accent strange and melodic. Orla's jaw tightened. "We manage." "I'm sure you do," Jackson replied, falling into step beside them. "I've been watching you for 3 days now. Same route, same time, never a complaint from either of you. Are you some kind of colonial inspector?" Orla demanded, fear spiking through her. "Because we're registered. Myra has every right to education, and I'm not an inspector," Jackson interrupted gently. "I'm someone who might be able to help, if you'll let me." Orla stopped walking. Myra looked between them with curious eyes. "Nobody helps for free," Orla said flatly. "What do you want?" Jackson smiled, and it reached his eyes in a way that was rare in the colonies. "Just a chance to do my job. I design mobility devices for children with neural and physical disabilities. Exoskeletons, Neuralink chairs, adaptive technology. That's why I'm here." The foundation I work for identified your settlement as having inadequate support systems. "We can't afford anything like that," Orla said, resuming her walk. "Even basic repairs cost more than I make in a year." "It's free," Jackson said simply. Orla stopped again. Nothing was free. Not here. Not anywhere. "Why?" she asked, suspicion and desperate hope warring in her voice. "Because every child deserves mobility, deserves dignity, deserves a future," Jackson answered. "Because 70 years ago, my grandmother carried my mother to school every day on a colony just like this one, until someone helped him. I'm paying it forward." Over the following weeks, Jackson worked with Mira. He took detailed scans of her neural patterns, her bone structure, her muscle density. He asked her what she dreamed of doing: running, dancing, climbing the observation towers to watch the starships arrive. "I want to walk beside Mama," Mira said, "so her back doesn't hurt anymore." Jackson nodded solemnly, as if this were the most important engineering specification he'd ever received. The exoskeleton he built was a marvel of bioengineering and adaptive technology. Lightweight carbon fiber struts interfaced directly with Myra's nervous system through non-invasive neural patches. The power cells would last years before needing replacement, and the design would grow with her. The day Jackson activated it, half the settlement gathered to watch. Orla stood with tears streaming down her face as her daughter took her first independent steps. Myra's movements were careful, experimental, but they were hers. Her own. "Mama," Myra called out, walking toward her with arms outstretched. "Mama, look." Orla caught her daughter in an embrace, both of them laughing and crying. Jackson watched from a distance, gathering his equipment. His work here was done. There were other settlements, other families, other children waiting. Before he left, Orla approached him at the transport station. "I can never repay you," she said. "You already have," Jackson replied. "Every time she takes a step, you repay the person who helped my family. That's how this works. That's how we survive out here, by remembering we're human." As his transport lifted off, Orla and Mira walked home together for the first time, mother and daughter, side by side under the amber suns, carrying nothing but hope for tomorrow. The future had arrived, delivered by a human who understood that humanity wasn't defined by where you were born, but by what you chose to carry forward.